This is Singapore, a small island state in Southeast Asia with a population of 6 million people. It is one of the world's richest economies and a gleaming hub of finance and trade. Singapore has no natural lakes, no aquifers, and barely any groundwater. Much of Singapore is as flat as a pancake and stands no more than 15 meters above the mean sea level, making it not only water scarce, but also vulnerable to rising seas caused by climate change. As a matter of fact, Singapore can only count on 103 cubic meters of renewable freshwater resources per inhabitant per year. For context, the United Nations defines extreme water scarcity at anything below 500 cubic meters. That means Singapore isn't just water scarce, it's among the most water-stressed places on Earth. Yet despite this, Singapore's taps never run dry. Its fountains and canals flow freely, its industries thrive, and its people enjoy some of the safest, cleanest water in the world. So how did one of the most water-stressed countries on Earth transform into a global leader in water management? Water shortages have a long history in Singapore. When Singapore became independent in 1965, water was more than a resource. It was a national security issue. The tiny city-state had no reliable supply of its own, and was heavily dependent on neighboring Malaysia through water agreements signed in 1961 and 1962. This dependence quickly turned political. For decades, Malaysian leaders argued that Singapore was paying too little for water drawn from the Johor River. Singapore, in turn, insisted that it invested heavily in treating and even reselling that water back to Malaysia at a fair price. With the final agreement set to expire in 2061, Singapore realized it couldn't gamble its survival on the politics of its neighbor. Add to that the growing threat of climate change, hotter dry spells, heavier rains, rising seas, and it was clear Singapore needed a plan, and that plan became one of the most ambitious water strategies the world has ever seen. The 4 national taps, a diversified system designed to guarantee water security for generations. Singapore depends on 4 sources for its water supply: imported water, water from local catchment, high-grade reclaimed water known as NEWater, and desalinated water. This diversified water supply strategy ensures Singaporeans of a robust supply of water for generations to come. So, let's discuss them one by one. The first and oldest source is imported water from Malaysia, long regarded as Singapore's historic lifeline. In 1961 and 1962, Singapore signed 2 long-term water agreements with the Malaysian state of Johor. The 1961 agreement has already expired, but the 1962 agreement remains in force and runs until 2061. Under this deal, Singapore can draw up to 250 million gallons of raw water per day from the Johor River. In return, Singapore supplies treated water back to Johor at a preferential rate and maintains the infrastructure needed to transport and treat the water. Imported water has literally kept Singapore alive through droughts and periods of rapid urban growth. Yet dependence on another country carries risks. Geopolitical tensions, climate change, and rising demand in Malaysia all add uncertainty. For that reason, Singapore has invested heavily in alternative taps and aims to become fully water self-sufficient well before the 2061 deadline. The second source, local catchment water, turns much of the island itself into a giant reservoir. 2/3 of Singapore's surface area already serves as a rainwater catchment. Rain is funneled from roofs, drains, and canals into 17 major reservoirs. The largest and most iconic is Marina Barrage, a 10,000-hectare basin and dam that not only stores fresh water but also protects the city from floods and provides a popular recreation area. During extreme storms, underground detention tanks capture excess floodwater, which can later be treated to produce drinking water. By 2060, the government plans to increase rainwater catchment coverage to 90% of the nation's landmass. Desalinated water provides the third tap. Singapore operates 5 desalination plants capable of supplying roughly a quarter of its national water needs. Many of these ultra-modern facilities are built with green roofs and park-like surroundings, and some are tucked beneath urban spaces. Desalination is especially valuable because it is independent of rainfall and climate. However, it remains energy-intensive and relatively costly, so for now, it serves as a crucial backup rather than a sole solution. The fourth tap is NEWater, Singapore's pioneering system of high-grade water recycling. Used water undergoes microfiltration, reverse osmosis, and ultraviolet disinfection to produce ultra-pure water that exceeds World Health Organization standards. Currently, about 30% of Singapore's water demand is met by NEWater, and the target is to raise that share to 55% by 2060. Most NEWater is used by industries and power plants requiring very pure water, while a smaller amount is blended with reservoir water for drinking. Although some people find the idea of reclaimed water controversial, the technology is proven and safe, and it is increasingly recognized worldwide as an essential part of future water security, and the nation continues to innovate. The Deep Tunnel Sewerage System, DTSS, a superhighway for used water up to 60 meters below ground, is a marvel of engineering that will collect and treat every drop of water for reuse, closing the water loop for the entire island. This will make it possible to fully centralize and optimize water treatment. But it's not just about technology, it's about governance as well. Singapore prices water to reflect its scarcity. Unlike many countries that heavily subsidize water, Singaporeans pay close to the true cost. The logic is simple. If water is cheap, people waste it. If it reflects its real value, people conserve it. Today, the average Singaporean uses around 154 liters of water per day. The government's target is to bring this down to 130 liters by 2030. Behind it all is PUB, Singapore's national water agency, which runs everything with transparency and efficiency. From cleaning rivers in the 1970s to building underground storage tanks for floodwaters today, the government treats water not as a short-term commodity, but as a long-term survival strategy. And every 2 years, Singapore hosts the International Water Week, bringing together leaders, experts, and practitioners from governments, utilities, academia, and industry from around the world. The Singapore Cooperation Program also supports the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, on training in WASH, water, sanitation, and hygiene, while Singapore's Sustainability Action Package supports capacity building in developing countries on sustainability and climate change. It also trains other nations through partnerships with the UN and capacity building programs for developing countries. These tools and platforms can help replicate some of the experiences of Singapore in other countries. Now, of course, Singapore is investing in research to make desalination and recycling more energy efficient, testing new membranes and solar-powered plants. In fact, the experience of Singapore is highly relevant for small island states and large cities experiencing water stress. If its policies are duplicated in other countries, these combined efforts will most certainly cause the needle to move significantly. But the question is, can bigger countries where politics is messy, infrastructure is sprawling, and populations are huge really replicate Singapore's model? Or is this success unique to its size and discipline? So, what do you think? Is Singapore's water story a perfect model for other water-scarce nations or not? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, subscribe for more insights into global innovation. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed,